Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today for another episode of WGI's Career Conversations. I am Ashley Weldon and I'm a marketing coordinator here at WGI. WGI is a multidiscipline professional services firm that's leading our profession in technology-based design solutions for the construction of public infrastructure and real estate development. At WGI, we like to say we're providing tomorrow's infrastructure solutions today. The built environment and the process by which we envision, design, and build infrastructure is changing faster than ever. With nearly 600 professionals spread across 18 offices in some of the most desirable locations in the country, we're at the leading edge of this sea of change. Our aim for our Career Conversation series is to provide value to our audience in an open forum and platform where our professionals will share about life in the workplace and their early career experiences. We'll be discussing internships, job search tips, the importance of networking, and the value that can come through professional mentorship. We're thrilled that you joined us today, and we're really eager to connect you with some of the professionals who are driving growth and results for us here at WGI. Today, we have another group of talented professionals for our chat. We have Kelsey Smith here with us. He's a project surveyor in our West Palm Beach office. Kelsey graduated from the University of Florida with a Bachelor's of Science in Geomatics, and he's about to celebrate his one-year anniversary with us at WGI. We also have Stephen Dees. He's also a project surveyor, and he is in our Gainesville office. He also graduated from the University of Florida with a Bachelor of Science in Geomatics. He's real fun fact too. He's a UAS pilot too, which is unmanned aerial vehicle for those of you who had to maybe look that up like me. Stephen just celebrated his 5-year anniversary with WGI as well, which is really awesome. We also have Randy Ortega with us. He's a project surveyor in our West Palm Beach office. He attended the University of Puerto Rico, graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Land Surveying and Civil Engineering. Randy has been with WGI for 2 years. And rounding things out, we have Blake Boussard, and he is a Sioux CAD tech, also in the West Palm Beach office. Blake has a Bachelor of Science in Marine Biology from Salisbury University, as well as another Bachelor of Science, this one in Environmental Sciences, from the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. That's not enough for you guys. Blake also has a master's degree in geomatics from the University of Florida. See him over there shaking his head. You should be proud, Blake.
You're gonna make me blush here. You need to stop that right now.
Sorry. Blake's been with WGI for almost 2 years now. All right. So as we visit today, I want to encourage you guys and gals to ask questions. Join in with us. Send them in the chat or use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen in your Zoom browser. I'm going to be trying to review all the questions as they come in, and I will do my best to get those things, worked into the interview before it ends so that you guys are able to get your questions answered. Also, if you really like what you hear today, let's go visit the career page on the website, WGINC.com. We have a dedicated page to internships and college recruiting that explains a lot more about the opportunities that await you here at WGI. All right, now we got all that out of the way. Let's kick things off with our first question. Stephen, what's going on? Do you want to tell all of the people who are joining us today, which, oh my God, you guys, we got up to 17 participants now. Some of them snuck in when we started. Let's talk about what you do here at WGI, just a little bit about what you and your team does, and kind of take us through, a typical day for you.
So I'm as you said, I'm in the Gainesville office. So go Gators. We'll start out there. But yeah, in the Gainesville office, we started this office about 6 months ago. Actually, it's probably about 8 months. Time flies, especially during COVID. So there's a lot of just handling that. Whether it's just trying to find new staff or growing this office, that's been a big part of it. But I do everything from talking with clients on a daily basis and sending out proposals, updating clients on projects. But there's days, since we're a smaller office and growing, there's days where I'm out in the field. If a crew chief calls in sick, it's not unheard of for me to have to go out in the field and do some grade staking like I did last week. So there's a little bit of that. There's also drafting boundary surveys, reviewing boundary surveys, QCing LiDAR data. We do a lot of that at WGI. And so every day seems to be different. And so there's a lot of different things that we're doing there. And also we have some staff in the Gainesville office. And so a lot of it's training as well. You know, we have some newer staff, and that's one of the goals of this office is getting some interns into this office out of the UF program and being able to train them and be able to utilize that talent out of the UF program. So a lot
Well,
of
and
different
you,
things we work on.
and Stephen, you actually, I mean, helped open the Gainesville office too. So can
Ye-
you talk about, just about that and any challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so WGI gave me a great opportunity to be able to come to Gainesville and open that office during COVID too. So it was around May of last year. I think we started the eyeball on it, and a little later we found office space. So there was that challenge, and then finding staff too. I was very fortunate. Right now, especially, it's hard to find staff and finding good talent, and I was very fortunate to get a crew chief very quick. And then hire staff underneath him and train that crew. And so we're right now got one crew, and so that was a challenge to get there. And then we looked at getting office staff as well, and so we actually were able to hire an intern in this office as well. And so being able to grow in that way, that was the main challenge, is just being able to find staffing and grow in that way. But with running a small office, there's a lot of day-to-day stuff that you got to do that you wouldn't normally have to do if you're at a larger office. So it's at the end of the day, it's all one person's got to do it all. So if it's sometimes it's cleaning the toilet every now and then. So
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they don't teach you about all of this stuff in
yeah,
your classes in
yeah,
college.
yeah.
Randy, you're over in West Palm Beach. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your job and your team and kind of, what you do on a daily basis for us?
So I'm a project surveyor here. I work a lot with the transportation projects, mostly at DOT, Turnpike kind of projects. And our, we go probably from managing field crews, making sure field crews know what to do, what they're going to do on each project. They know the scope in and out. To our survey techs as well. Everybody knows the project in and out. To doing estimates, as Steven said, and working with clients and updating on the project status, and making sure that we have a high quality product at the end of the day, and our clients are happy with it. So client satisfaction basically is our job.
Well, at the end of the day, it's really all about the clients. So Blake, let's go over to you because you are actually a Sioux CAD tech here. So tell us a little bit about, what that entails.
I am the only non-project surveyor on this group, but I'm trying to join the fraternity here soon. I passed my FS. I'm trying to take my final 2 tests and join these guys and
Awesome.
join the real world, But no, we do a lot of the similar things that Stephen and Randy touched on, meeting with the crew early in the morning, making sure they know what they're doing for the day. But the main difference is between what these guys do is we work with the underground. It sounds cool, but we basically go out and we locate all kinds of utilities for DOT, municipalities, private firms and stuff like that. We go out and locate their utilities, and then we map them. So we basically let them know where their utilities are underground, but on the surface, if that makes any sense. We go out and we dig test holes on these things, and we let them know how deep they are in the ground. So with all this, it's working with things that are unseen. So on a day-to-day basis, there's a lot of coordinating with the crews and kind of seeing what they're seeing and trying to relay that information to, other surveyors, engineers, clients. So it's a busy time to be a Sioux CAD tech. So not to mention doing all the drawings and stuff like that. So it's what I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot. And I mean, pretty important, trying to knowing where your utilities and lines and pipes and things run underground. Pretty important part of development for a project. So, all right, Kelsey, you've been quiet over there. Let's switch things up a little bit and let's talk about college. When you went to college, I mean, did you know that you wanted to go into the surveying field? Did you start out in a different field? How did you get drawn to this area?
I did go to college for a pretty long time. Should have gotten a master's out of it, but early on in college, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I spent some time in community college before I transferred up to UF. So I was one of the older students in the class, but I had an idea. My first survey job was in high school when I was 17. It's just to fill the OJT requirements. But after doing that for a year as a senior, I kind of had an idea that it was something that I did enjoy. So for the first couple of years of community college, I stayed working as a surveyor before transferring to UF. And then, so by senior year at UF, I definitely had made that decision. Early on in high school, I thought maybe civil engineering. And this is a lot of overlap in the same classes. So it was a similar interest, a lot of math based. So yeah, by the time I got through UF, the last 2 years are a lot more program driven, a lot more geomatics driven, as opposed to the prereq credits that I did through community college and a portion of my time at UF. So by the time I got through there, I was in too deep. There was no turning back. I had spent more years than I'd like to admit getting that degree. So it was survey or bust.
Well, you did it and you made it. So congrats. And it's really interesting too, that you kind of have a little bit of a different story in that you were able to, get into the surveying field early on and have some on the job experience, prior to when internships kind of pop up in that chain of events, so I'm sure that helped a lot, probably with your development and also just with what you were doing and learning in school as well.
Yeah, the first few courses I took, some of the intro stuff, it was nice to see something I was familiar with. I was mostly just working in the field, a junior party chief, rodman, instrument operator. So I still had plenty to learn, but it was nice to just have those general concepts, be comfortable with those starting school.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Stephen? Tell us a little bit about, your college experience and kind of, again, if that was something that, this was the field that you knew you were going into from a young age, or if that, just kind of happened in college. Just a little background.
Yeah, so I started out doing the engineering route. I come from a family of engineers, and which made me really not want to be an engineer. Hopefully there's no engineers on the conversation, but
it's not how it's supposed to work.
yeah, no, it's not. But I still enjoyed math, history, and technology, and a lot of those components that are in surveying, and so enjoyed that, and really was just looking for something different. I knew I was good at engineering. I was doing well in school, but just didn't really have a drive to do it. And so I was really just looking for something that piqued my interest more. And by the time I got around to finishing my AA, I found the surveying program at UF, learned a little bit about it. And then I went around and talked to some surveyors, and to learn a lot more about it, because it's hard to really grasp. A lot of people just don't know what surveying is in the detail of what we do. A lot of people just think it's the people on the side of the road, and that's there's, as we know, there's a lot more that goes into it. And so we I went around and met them and learned a lot about it. And once I learned a lot about it, I was like, all right, I'm for sure doing this, and really didn't turn back. Got into the UF program, got heavily involved in that, and trying to do different things outside of just the regular curriculum, trying to do some leadership opportunities in that. And so I truly enjoyed it, and it really allowed my career to start out quick and be successful. So the college, wasn't really the route I envisioned as a freshman, but once I got into it, I definitely didn't turn back, and enjoyed it every way through.
Great. Well, and I see that we have our first question in the Q&A, and they are asking, did anyone in the group get a job immediately in the WGI office? And, can you elaborate on why it's important to get field experience first for new graduates, opposed to coming into, the workforce with no experience? And I know, Kelsey, you kind of talked about that a little, so you're welcome to field this, but if any of you other guys want to chime in on this too, who had, prior work experience, and that would be awesome as well.
I'll jump in a little bit and then maybe hand it off to somebody else. I didn't start immediately into the office after graduating, but for the second part of the question, why it's important to have some of that field experience is, you ask all four of us, and our day starts with coordinating with field crews. So if we have a project we need to get done, has a very specific scope, that data comes from the field crew. So if we don't communicate that properly to the field crew, they're not going to pick up the information the client needs. And that's ultimately on us as a project manager to coordinate with the crew and communicate what they need to be doing, how they need to be doing it. And we have very capable field staff, but every project is different. So I find myself even now, after being in the office for a few years, estimating a project, I'll say, it's 2 days worth of field work. And then they get on site and the first phone call I get is, what were you thinking? It looks a lot easier on Google Earth. So, it makes estimating jobs easier. It makes coordinating the actual collection of the field data a lot easier if you have a little bit of that background to at least be able to, be able to walk that path and, look at what the field crew is going to need and think of things that may come up.
I think that even applies to even on like a personal level, if you will, too, starting off in the field, like you kind of go through the struggles and the troubleshooting that, a lot of your crews go through. So, they're calling you saying, it's 100 degrees out. I'm sweating my butt off. I'm trying my hardest, even to that, smaller personal level, you kind of understand where they're coming from and can relate to it. So that's why I think it's, like what Kelsey said, start off in the field, and not too many of us probably jumped right into the office. So
definitely, and also you want to get to know your technology, what equipment you guys are using, and even if you move into the office, you want to keep updated, because at the end of the day, you're the one estimating the project. You are the one saying, what are we going to use? What's the best way to approach this and that? And like Blake said, they'll give you a call. The crews will give you a call and say, hey, my equipment is not working. You're most likely going to be the troubleshooting guy at there. So pay your dues, do your field work, get to know how the job is done, and then you'll get there.
Well, and you hit on a word that I was thinking, which was paying your dues, kind of like starting, coming from the ground up. And like Blake was saying, it really allows you to kind of know what these guys are going through. And like Randy said, with the technology, be able to know which technology should be used when, and just almost be a few steps ahead of the game and things, because you have all that background knowledge because you've done it, so that's awesome. Let's talk about internships. Did all of you guys have an internship in college? Yeah, okay, I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking. Cool. Well, who wants to talk about their internship?
I'll go. I'll go real quick. So yeah, I had a few different internships, and that's one thing I encourage anyone in any profession, do some internships, really get to know your industry before you make that big decision of what company you want to join on full time once you do graduate. It's a great chance not only for you to figure out maybe a few different industries, in the surveying world, there's a lot of different industries you can work in. And so maybe you get a client that's more diverse, or a company that's more diverse, or a company that's not. I definitely encourage you to try out internships. Of course, you can try out WGI, of course, but no, that it's a great way. I personally went to a small residential surveying company to start out with. Then I went to a DOT similar to WGI, but a DOT only firm, worked there for a little bit. And then I inevitably interned a little bit at WGI too. And so that kind of guided me towards WGI. And so they're definitely try to diversify what you do. And so it helps you as you graduate to make that decision.
Great advice, Stephen.
My internship, I did at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. This is a huge radio telescope. It was a big platform holding on by cables under 3 towers. The platform, unfortunately, it collapsed last December, but it was there for like 60 years. Scientists all over the world came to that site and did their astronomic observations and all that. So my internship there was working as a maintenance surveyor and engineer. We did construction work, and definitely, I spent 8 months there, and I loved every minute of it. Loved that site, and definitely what I got out of it is actually real hands-on practice, like stuff that they can't teach you is cool because they don't have that time. I was there doing it day in, day out. And definitely internship. It's a great plus in your career.
I mean, that sounds amazing, Randy. That sounds like a dream internship
Yeah.
to me.
It was a contribution to science. So on a career goal, that's what I got a check already done. I contributed to science in a way.
Wow. Wow. Well, and let's talk about networking now, because that ties hand in hand, with internships. You know, how much did networking play a part or help you when it came time to looking for an internship? And not only just an internship, but just, when you were graduating and you were looking for a job, how much did being involved in professional organizations and meeting and talking to people, how much of an impact was that for you guys?
I mean, I think it was huge because I actually started off, my first internship was on a ship. I was a hydrographic surveyor. I lived for a month and a half over the summer on a vessel out in the middle of the ocean with no cell service, and I basically slept in a coffin every single day. It was so small and tight. But anyway, I got that first internship through networking with my professor at college and being a part of, a bunch of clubs and different activities. So in a roundabout way, it kind of led me to WGI. I networked with my professor. He introduced me to this, this summer internship that I didn't really know what I was going to get myself into, but it ended up being great. But, in a roundabout way, I ended up finding myself at WGI. So networking is just getting your foot in the door even. So.
Did you see Randy's eyes when you started telling that? Like he thought he had the best story in the group, and then you came in.
Well, no, he does. He contributed to science, and I don't know. I sat on the boat and fished at the end of the day. So I don't know what I really contributed to, but except dinner maybe. But that was about it. So. No.
Man. Oh, that's great. We got another question that came in, and this is actually a really good question too. So we've talked a lot, about universities and internships and all of that, but we have one that came in and they want to know what types of opportunities, are available here at WGI for people that maybe didn't get a 4-year degree, only have, or community college graduates or, have GIS technical certificates. Does one of you guys want to speak on that?
I'll field it. So yeah, it kind of depends on, sometimes we're really looking for those technicians and sometimes we aren't, right now the demand's pretty high for that type of work. But we definitely have a lot of technicians that don't have graduate or, a bachelor's degree. They're more certificate based, or maybe they started out in the field, worked their way up and we noticed that person, hey, they're good with technology. So let's put them in the office and start working with GIS or LiDAR or whatever it may be. We have tons of what we call them at WGI champions, champions of LiDAR, UAS, or whatever it is, that they were really self-taught, got some certifications along the way, but really, didn't have that bachelor's degree, really didn't need it to be able to accomplish their job. So there's a huge demand for that type of work in our industry. And I personally think that industry is changing a little bit, where not everyone needs to get a bachelor's degree, and it's a great way to become certified in something and be able to learn the technical aspect of it, the skill aspect of it, rather than in surveying school we're learning more theoretical stuff of how to complete a boundary and stuff like that, and maybe in a technical school you're more so learning skills, so you're more trained to enter WGI or another company and pick up things a lot faster. You got those skills already under your belt. So I definitely think there's a lot of opportunities for that.
Well, that's a great point you made too, because just nationally, there's a trend and a movement towards we're losing a lot of the skilled workers. We need more people, that are out there and can do things hands-on. And so, and also too, I mean, WGI provides career advancement opportunities as well. So you can get in here and maybe you only have a 2-year degree and you learn all of these technical skills and get some on the job, experience. And then we have a tuition reimbursement program. And, you're able to finish your degree and complete that higher education. So you just have lots of opportunities here, to advance your career. And that was a really, really great question, I think, that came in. And thanks so much for answering that, Stephen. Okay, so let's talk about what, a new graduate would do. They got hired here. What would they be working on? What would a day look like, for them? What do you think, Kelsey? Been quiet over there.
So a new graduate, they have a couple different paths. We already kind of touched on the benefits of getting some field experience. And we've had a few technicians here who started in the field. And it's, again, I think Stephen brought this up. It's a good way to identify people who have an interest in getting into the office in certain technologies. We may, we have a large rail project. They may be interested in the rail, and there's always plenty of opportunity for techs in the office to work on that project. They could be interested in DOT. They could be interested in LiDAR data collection and processing. Starting out by collecting the data is a great way to segue into processing the data in the office. If they didn't go the field route, then, the technician side, basically any project we do, it starts with data collection, and then the next step is data processing. So as soon as it comes in the door, we have a technician who's, downloading everybody's data, checking the data, processing the data, and then ultimately turning it into our client's deliverable. So you have the two options. You go into the field and get some field experience that way, or if you did want to or have the opportunity to come straight into the office, there's always opportunities to get in at every level of the project and really get hands-on and see what goes into building a project from the ground up and turning it into something that the client is interested in.
So we do have an emerging technologies department here within the geospatial WGI, and this is a group dedicated to maximizing our technologies, our software, our data collection, making sure everything's working the best way possible, and improving and innovating our products every time. That way, our project or our next project is easier than the last one. So that's also a career that's very important. That's the way the industry is moving as well. Being more efficient and being more technology. We say 50% less clicks on the next project or next year. So that's a way also that we can move here, innovate ourselves.
Well, that's awesome to hear, because at WGI, we put a lot of emphasis on technology and innovation. We're always looking to the future. So I'm glad that you guys are helping with that and utilizing that technology to, maximize efficiency. Let's switch gears a little bit and, let's talk about advice. So think back to your early college days. Okay. If you guys could go back in time, flashback 4, 5, 6 years, however long it was, and kind of like whisper in your ear at the time, give yourself a little tidbit, piece of advice, really important, something that would be important for our audience members here. What would you say?
My piece of advice to myself would be to challenge myself more. When I graduated, even having a background in surveying and a degree and all the things it takes to go get the job I wanted, I still didn't push myself. I went after jobs that I knew I could do, as opposed to jobs that I knew I was capable of, down the road. As something I could walk into and pick up day one, something I'd already been doing essentially. So I think it's important to, if you graduate, you have the tools to succeed, to move to the next level. So go after jobs that you may not be qualified for today, but in 6 months you'll look back and go, that was easy. So always push yourself and don't just settle for a job that you are comfortable with. Challenge yourself every day. And like I said, every year you'll look back and go, that used to be a challenge. What's next?
Yeah, I think also don't, I feel like a lot of young graduates, they get into the looking for a job with the most pay, and that being their only determining factor. And I definitely, pay is obviously good. That's a good thing, but it's not everything. It's, you know, you got to put yourself in the shoes of, I'm going to be working 40, 50 hours a week with these people, day in and day out. Do I like these people? And so it's a good work environment. So look for that too. You know, I was lucky. I went to the Tallahassee office at WGI right out of college, and they had a fantastic work environment. You know, those associates I worked with, they truly became family. And you know, whether it's Friday afternoon going to a happy hour, and even on the weekends hanging out with them, stuff like that, that really made the difference and made me really feel like I picked a really good company, a really good place to work. So that's important. And also just, you know, kind of what Kelsey was saying, places where you can move your career forward, where you're not going to get in the door. Maybe you get a good pay, but you're going to be stagnant for the next 3 years. You want to be at a place where you can move forward and grow as a professional. And so that's something that, two things that aren't necessarily obvious as you're looking for a job, that I really think you probably should. And it's something I got lucky and fell into, but I think I truly got lucky and didn't know I was looking for that. So I encourage everyone to look for that.
Nice, great advice.
To add a little bit, just number one advice I would say is treasure those years in college. Definitely. Treasure your youth specifically. And second, following up with Stephen Dees, you know, look for a company that will actually give you experience all around. Like right now with Stephen Dees, I'm pretty sure Stephen Dees will appreciate someone assisting him in doing all the kind of stuff that he does. You know, working in day out, you know, working field, processing data, extracting, all that survey. You could, right out of college, go to an office or a company that can offer you that. You make your life so much easier, because you know you'll be that much more experienced than most people early in your career. So that's a thought that you should have when you're looking for.
I like your first answer. Enjoy the life,
I know.
enjoy college. You won't get it back.
And switch places.
Real world hits hard.
Truth. Okay, Blake,
Uh-oh.
what do you tell your former self?
What would I tell my former self? I don't know. I think these guys covered it pretty well. You know, when I got out of school, I kind of tripped and fell into surveying. You know, I didn't really, you know, I wanted to swim with the dolphins, you know, so when I was in school. So I guess it's kind of, you know, if you get you know, a hinge, you know, if you feel like you want to move or do something different, you know, do it. You know, that's why I ended up going back to do UF online. I was out in the field working as a surveyor, and I actually went to UF online to get my master's. So don't feel like you're stuck, I guess. You know, if you don't like where you're at, you know, make your path, you know. So I think that's what I would say. So
Yeah, like take chances. Don't
Yeah.
pass up opportunities. Just whatever comes your way, like check it out.
exactly. Get
Never
out of
know
your
where-
comfort zone. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Great advice. Awesome. Let's talk about projects. What, do any of you guys have any like really cool projects that you've worked on? Any cool places that you've been able to travel with the company, you know, to go check out or work on?
I'll do the North Florida version, because some people probably are like, that does not sound fun to me. But no, it was one of the coolest projects, and if you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like the coolest project. But you know, we went out when I was still out in the field, was able to work assisting the FWC, Florida Wildlife Conservation, on determining the limits of this floating island. So it was like this island that was floating, and it wasn't natural. It was kind of, you know, some man-made erosion made it happen, and so they had to remove it to kind of restore. It was on the St. Johns River, to restore it back to its natural habitat. And so we were working with a contractor, and we were staking out the limits of this island, and it was in the middle of the swamp on an airboat. As soon as we got there, we got stuck on the airboat, and FWC had to bring another airboat. But it was so cool because we're literally flying around an airboat. You're seeing tiny alligators and snakes everywhere, and it's just not every day you get to ride around on an airboat and you get paid to do it. And so that was one of the the coolest projects I think I worked on right whenever I was still in the field. So.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Any other guys, can y'all top that?
I don't think I can top that. And not at WGI, like you said earlier on. I've only just coming up on a year, so I haven't been here quite as long and had the background to build a lot of good projects. But while I was actually still in school surveying with another firm, Blue Springs Park up there, northwest of Gainesville, we got to survey that. So that was a really fun project because it's gorgeous, and we got to basically locate the boardwalk that ran along the river. So, usually when you're waist to chest deep in water, it's a swamp. It's not fun and pleasant. This was crystal clear water, perfect temperature. It was, 100 degrees in the middle of the summer, and they told me we were going to survey Blue Springs. And begrudgingly, I went and I spent the day basically working very hard, but also maybe swimming in the springs all day. So that was probably the last really fun project I got to work on out in the field.
I think that's what draws you to surveying too, is, you get to go to these, wild places or, beautiful places, or just go down the street, into not so nice place. But, I think that's just one of the perks of survey that probably drew to these three other guys and myself to the profession. So
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I've been at the roof of AT&T Stadium, what used to be Dallas, or the Cowboys Stadium. Whenever they changed the name to AT&T Stadium, we laid out the steel plates for the letters on the roof. It sounds cool and all, except the day we picked to do it, it was like 10 degrees outside, and we were against a snowstorm coming in. It wasn't fun once we were up there, and it was scary because the roof is shaped like a football. So the lower you go, the more inclined you get. It's scary, but once you get up there, it's like, okay, it's worth it. It's an experience.
Well, it makes for a good story. So
Yeah.
there's that. Is there anything to be said about, like geographic location when it comes to, working in the survey field? Are there hot spots in the country that you have a better chance, of getting a job in the survey world, or where they're more needed,
I think Florida and Texas are on fire right now. Those are the two hot spots. The demand for surveying is extremely high. I've heard Tennessee is high too, but man, Florida and Texas are going crazy, which inevitably we have a survey offices in Florida and Texas. But that's just the two states that are just growing rapidly. I know Jacksonville, I think it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country, which is still surprising to me. But yeah, Florida's on fire.
Definitely agree with Steven.
but you need surveyors everywhere, people are still gonna want to know where their boundaries are. They're still going to develop. They're still going to, make roadways. So it's not limited. Those are two hot spots because of the development and everything like that. But I mean, we have offices all over, and we're only growing. So we're going to need surveyors, SUE workers, all over the place. So.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, good job security for sure, just like you just said. And I mean, we're kind of going into, since we're in this area right now, can we talk about, the age gap that's in the industry right now that you guys are facing? There's been an uptick in the number of surveyors that are starting to retire, and there just doesn't seem to be enough young surveyors who are coming up the ranks to fill those gaps. So what are you guys, doing to help alleviate this? And, or, is there something that, other people in your industry or the industry as a whole is doing to, address this concern and attract younger talent?
We're doing career conversations. That's
There you go.
Great.
there's our
answer.
plug, right?
There you go, Blake.
Yeah, no, but I mean, we were talking about, field and office, everybody wants to go and get the cushy, office job and stuff like that. But it's good to push to get the field experience, to see if this is really what you want to get into. So, just pushing them to get their feet wet and, try to show them what the good is about the profession. I think that's how you got to get the younger people. Stephen mentioned about, getting a degree, that's not necessary all the time, whether you're a licensed surveyor or party crew chief, surveyors are on the decline, sadly. So just getting people's feet wet and doing things like this and spreading the word.
Yeah, I think marketing's key and letting people know about the industry. I know I work with UF a lot, being in Gainesville, and just on the advisory committee there, and they're growing that program and producing more and more professionals. But just the people don't know about surveying. There's a lot more demand than there is supply for this profession, and so just getting the word out there, whether it's just telling people or going to your school, high school or whatever, to let people know that there's career opportunities there, that people that probably wouldn't normally hear about it. I think that's one good way to do it. But also, I think the industry is getting younger. I think the younger group is getting there. They're not licensed yet, but a lot of people are starting to go through these surveying programs. There's some great ones, like the one Randy went to. There's some great ones all throughout the Southeast, and that are producing students, and it's a matter of time before we start seeing more and more students licensed.
Nice.
Sorry, before we move on.
No, go ahead,
feel like,
Kelsey.
it's before too long, I'm going to be the old guy in the survey community, because it is, the numbers. Every once in a while, I'll see an article in like the Florida Surveyor, and when they show the number of new licensees in the entire state, and it's incredibly low compared to almost every other profession. When I took my licensing exam, we took it in an auditorium, and there were about 8 surveyors, and the rest were civil engineering and architecture. And so there's always a ton of demand, but I think back to myself in high school, and if I didn't just happen to have a family member who was working at a survey firm, I would have never even known about surveying. So of course, COVID derailed that, but there's a local high school that does a survey lab, which I thought was great, because in high school, they're teaching them surveying. So I try and volunteer when they have those every year. And I see a lot of myself in that class, except for considerably smarter. These kids are, they're whiz kids, and they just didn't, if it weren't for that class, they'd never get introduced to survey. So we go around, what are you going to school for? What are you going to school for? And none of them say surveying. And I'll talk to them, and a lot of them think, I don't want to be a surveyor. I don't want to stand in the middle of the road with an orange vest looking through a camera. And that's what they think surveying is. So I think it's important to talk to everyone, but especially younger people who are looking to, choose a career path, that surveying is not the limited window of opportunity they think it is. It's not just construction layout. It's not just boundary surveying. It's every project you see going around the country. Everything that needs to get built has surveying in the background. Everything that needs to get designed. There's just a lot of new technology that I had no idea existed. So I looked at it as, it's boring. It's just, you just measure things and take pictures and you're done. That's surveying. There's a lot more to it. So I think it's important to find those people who may have, like even Stephen and myself, both, civil engineering. That's what we're going to do, because that's what everybody does. If you like math, you just say you're a civil engineer. But you can take that and apply it to surveying, and there's a lot more to surveying than a lot of people understand.
So it sounds like really outreach and mentorship kind of is what it boils down to, as far as attracting more people to the field. And then also, kind of disproving those misconceptions, like you said, that all surveyors are the guys out on the road in the orange vests and the bad weather, kind of things. So that's good. And like Blake said too, we're doing these career conversations. We're trying to get the word out there to people, how fun, how cool surveying is. These are, you get to go to really cool places. A great combo of being out in the field and in the office. So I'm really glad that you guys are here with us today, sharing this information and all this knowledge, with our audience, because it's been really fantastic. And speaking of mentorship, did any of you guys have a mentor, in your early days and I know, Kelsey, you kind of talked about, working in a firm with family members and all of that, but like, did you have somebody who really, or somebody who's maybe still your mentor right now, who's just really grooming you and helping you, rise up the ranks? Or even on the flip side, are you in a position right now, where one of you guys is mentoring, somebody or a group of other, younger surveyors coming up the ranks?
I'll go ahead here. Oh, Steve.
No, you beat me. You beat me.
Okay, all right, I got the first click. As cheesy as it sounds, one of the things that drew me to WGI is how many experienced and great surveyors they have here. So it's kind of like you go office to office and you've got a mentor. If I need DOT questions, I'll go to Randy and ask him about DOT. I'll go ask Blake about Sue. There's a lot of things I don't know about, and there's kind of a mentor in every office here. I got this job essentially from FSMS, serving on the local chapter board with Jim Sullivan. And I mean, that was years ago, but creating that relationship early on, we worked together well. I respected him as a surveyor, interviewed with him at a couple other firms before he ended up here and then brought me over here. But it's always nice to have somebody that you respect in the profession in the building. And then once I got here, I realized it was, like I said, it's not just limited to the person who brought me in, but there's a ton of experience here. In Steven's office, he is the experience, but we have so many other offices and it's easy to reach out, even if it's not in your physical office. We've got, everybody's a phone call or a Zoom away now, and we've just got a lot of great resources here.
Yeah, and I was really gonna echo a lot of what you said, Kelsey. Is it's my mentor was Jeremiah Slaymaker. He kind of taught me the reins of how to be a surveyor, but it's really a team effort. And I learned from our Christian Stewart, our LiDAR leader, a lot. And I was in Tallahassee, and he was still able to train me. Before COVID, we were still doing the Zoom and video conference thing, and so that's a big part of what we do. And so it's great to have those people there, and WGI does have those people in each and every office that can be that mentor. But we also have a great team throughout our entire geospatial division that you're going to learn from each and every person, and you're going to be able to really learn from a team environment. There's a lot of people that I could drop names. Andy Valentine taught me a ton about just Civil 3D and microstation DOT alignment, stuff like that allowed me to not only learn my skills, but also develop as a professional. It takes a team to do that. It's not just one sole mentor, but WGI still has that great mentor that in each office that can do that.
I had Joe Edgar when I came here to WGI. This was the guy. I've been doing surveying in Florida for like 7 years now, and doing mapping and retracing boundary right-of-ways and baselines and all that, those transportation projects. And I saw his name I've been seeing his name on maps since probably 80s. And so sure enough, I come WGI interview, met Joe Edgar, and I spent 2 years here on this tutelage and definitely learned a lot. And here was I getting firsthand experience on the guy that did this map 40 years ago. All that history that he has on his mind that's not laid out on the map specifically. He gave me the in and outs on each project, that we were working together. And, that's definitely a great experience. And it's definitely something you look for in survey, because, we get this map from probably 100 years old and we're trying to retrace it. I mean, you're not going to get a 100-year-old surveyor, but, you get pretty much a guy with a lot of experience that did that survey a long time ago before anything was developed. And I had that with Joe. That's definitely a good experience in what we have here.
Wow, that's super interesting to hear. You got to meet the man, the myth, the legend.
Yep.
person. Sharing all of that knowledge and experience. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Randy. I just want to mention we're about 10 minutes out from wrapping this up. So if anybody who is listening, watching right now, you'll have any other questions, if there's anything that we haven't covered yet that you want to know about from these guys, send them in. We'll try to work them in, before we close this out. Let's talk about aspirations. Where do you guys see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you want to accomplish? What are your goals?
I want to be Randy Ortega.
I was Randy Ortega for a couple minutes there.
I learned this in school. Happy. That's the first answer to that question. Whatever makes you happy. 5 years from now, if it's been in survey, engineering, doctor, lawyer, unemployed, whatever makes you happy. Let's look towards that. Personally, having a civil engineering degree, which I like to put to the test or make my approach towards that career as well, and get the dual license, and be one of the selected few that have the dual license in Florida. That's what I'm going for.
That's a good goal, but I think I'd have to put that one about 15 years out, just based on how long it took to get my first degree. That second degree might take a minute. Again, going back to one of the reasons I moved here, I was working for a small local government, and I took that job because at the time I thought what would make me happy was safe. I was never going to lose that job. I was always going to have that paycheck, and I worked there for almost 5 years, and I realized that for 4.5 of that, I had been doing the same thing every day. So where I see myself in 3 to 5 years is just hopefully doing something new, doing something different every day, a new, not just a new position, but new projects, again, going way, way back to what I was saying about pushing yourself is 3 to 5 years. I hope to look back on what I look at now as a huge challenge, projects that I'm really nervous about tackling. I hope 3 to 5 years from now, I look back and go, what was I so nervous about? That's easy stuff. That's the stuff that's boring now. It's so easy. So, hopefully working my way up through the organization, but mostly just still finding myself challenged. And it seems like this, that this brings the opportunity that you never run out of new projects, which is the beauty of surveying. If you're in the field, you're in a different site every day. If you're in the office, you're at least on a different project every day. So hopefully I won't be bored in 5 years. That's my goal.
I think my immediate goal is to join the ranks of these. Immediate goal is to join the ranks of these 3 other gentlemen here. Pass my license and become a licensed surveyor as well. Because it's a long, hard journey. It really is. With all the experience and education and requirements that they require from you, it's a long haul. So that's an immediate goal, and I guess based off of what we were talking about, I'd like to become one of those younger surveyors that makes it a cool occupation again, and gets people inspired to do that, whether it's sue or survey or whatever. Get it going again. So
Love
And
it.
and I just got my license, so I'm just going to take a slight breath of that 8-year process, but not. I would say probably get licensed in another state. I'm in Gainesville. We're not far from Georgia, so I'll probably be eyeballing Georgia here soon, and then in this Gainesville office, trying to build it as it's new and really make it grow. But I love the everybody saying do something different. I think that's always should be our goal, is trying to stay. We're at a diverse company. Try to stay working on different things, and I don't want to get bored and doing monotonous stuff every day. So keep that diversity here.
That's a great answer. And I like how you said, get licensed in a different state, because that was really smart. We didn't talk about that, but that's definitely should be, a lot of people's goals is to be more versatile, be able to work on, more projects in other states and just spread yourself out like that. I think that's great that you mentioned that, Stephen. I haven't seen any other questions come in. We've got about 5 minutes left. So what I like to ask at the end of these calls, and I know we kind of already went over what advice would you give your former self? But I want to talk about if the people that are listening to us right now, the people that are watching, who are getting ready to graduate, maybe they have another year left, getting ready to apply for internships or jobs. Maybe some of them are struggling and they've put a lot of applications in and they're not hearing back on anything. What kind of advice would you give those people to get noticed, to get their foot in the door somewhere?
I'd say build a personal relationship with people. I know that's kind of tough with COVID, but I mean, it was for me. I had a leadership role in FSMS as a student. And so I got out and about and got to meet people face to face. And so whenever I graduated, I already knew who I was going to call. I already knew this person already knows me too. And so it was very easy for them to be honest with me and say, hey, we don't have an opportunity for you right now. Wish we did. But, you know, a lot of times you just got to find that place with the right opportunity. And, sometimes it's just putting a blanket message out and emailing as many people as you can. But I still think getting that face-to-face personal relationship with whoever that person is probably your best way. It's a lot easier to get an honest answer from somebody if they've either talked to you in person or on the phone or whatever it may be, whatever you feel comfortable with. That's the best way to build that.
Be a jack of all trades, just like Steven said, don't be above anything or anything. Clean some toilets like Steven said he does.
Don't have to do that.
Just saying, but don't be above anything and just be a jack of all trades until you get your spot.
One thing I would say is, we go back to, building those relationships, obviously serving on local chapters. If you're in a student chapter, that's a great way. But if you're not, join the local chapter, even if it's right now, it may be a Zoom meeting every couple months. But also, one of the mistakes I made early on was I only applied for jobs that I found job listings for. Mail your resume to everybody. I probably half of the survey jobs I've gotten weren't advertised. They weren't maybe looking for someone, but you put your resume in front of them and they go, you know what? That position that we've been meaning to hire that we just haven't had the time to put it together, or we didn't have the right candidate in-house. You just send them your resume, maybe you get that phone call. When I graduated, I ended up coming down back to South Florida as an instrument operator. And I was an instrument operator when I was in high school because that was the only thing I could find that was advertised. And then I took another job that wasn't advertised that got me in the office as a tech. Then I ended up at another job. I ended up here as a FDOT surveyor. That was the only thing that was advertised. I've driven on FDOT roads. That's the limit of my FDOT experience. So I would have never jumped on WGI, looked at the career listings and said, yep, I'm qualified. I'm going to go after that job. Just send your resume. And whether there's a listing that you think you fit or not, they're going to have your resume and they may have a position that they just didn't know they needed. Or 6 months from now, they may go, wait a second, remember that resume that came in? Just always, go after everything. Even if there's no advertisement, just send your resume, jump on Google, look up every survey firm in the area and just send it out. And right now, everyone is hiring. Again, even if they don't have an advertisement, if a good resume comes across, and it's a competitive environment as well. So they may have somebody who's doing the job and not doing it very well. The position's filled, but you could be, the replacement for that position, and that's your way in.
That's fantastic. Fantastic advice, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Randy.
Just agreeing there with Kelsey. Be proactive, participate a lot in professional associations, student chapters, all that. Build your network soon. Get to know people and research your companies. Like you could go to WGIMC.com, see what we're all about. Even if we don't have a opening position, we don't pass on opportunities. We know good talent when we see it, and if you're attractive to us, send us your resume. We don't pass on good opportunities. That's Dees, right?
Nice. I like that call to action. You heard it here, folks. Go to the website, check out our job listings. We're about, ready to wrap things up, but we did get one final question that came in on the Q&A. So we're going to close things out talking about technology again. And Randy, I don't know, you may want to field this one as well, because you did speak a little bit on technology. But, we're being asked, does technology make the surveying process more efficient? Is it going to help attract younger surveyors to the profession? And, are your teams hiring interns for surveying? Is that something that that we hire here at WGI for our survey interns? And if so, where are we hiring? That was like 4 questions. So just.
All right. Let me tackle technology. Technology makes every profession, or it should make every profession more efficient. surveying, engineering, construction. The greater your technology is, the more tools you're going to have under your belt, the better you're going to be, the more efficient you're going to be, and better you're going to perform your job. Surveying, you know, we've come a long way since chains and theodolites to now we have laser scanning, and God knows what we're going to have in the future. Robots, we have robots, robotic tow stations, you name it, drones, homeland. You know, where we're going, it's limitless.
And it also, to build on that, it also makes, you know, the types of projects you can do. There's a lot more types of projects we can do because of technology. A lot of stuff that we wouldn't be able to do back in the day that we can now do because of that.
Definitely. GPS was a game changer, you know, getting your coordinates without doing a long traverse. So it's going to attract more young surveyors, especially once or new generations are going to be so much tech savvy or tech efficient. And we're going to bond more with other industries as well. You know, the people that develop this equipment, you know, probably not even surveyors, but they know a lot of computers and robotics technologies that you know, simply 50 years ago, we were not bonding with robotics technology or industries. So, you know, it's going to bond more into when the future is going to hold.
Nice. So getting that experience with new technologies and software and all of that when you're young definitely sounds like it'll help you, you know, get a job, get an internship, because that's valuable in the industry. Cool. Well, I'm glad we were able to close out talking about that. We've gone over our time by a few minutes, so thanks everybody for hanging in there and listening to these guys. Thanks also to our panelists, Blake, Stephen, Kelsey, and Randy. We're really glad that you all joined us today, and I hope you guys had as much fun as we did here. If you want to find out more about WGI, go to our website, like Randy said, wginc.com. We're also social, so you can find us on all the major social media platforms. We've got Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us everywhere. Career Conversations is actually going to be taking a short hiatus over the summer, but we'll be right back at it again in the fall. Our next session of Career Conversations kicks back off on September 15th. And who knows, maybe you could be one of the people on the panel next time. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.